Good to see you, Dave. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I want to talk to you about your experience in kind of bringing IT over to the OT security side and just kind of bridging those gaps. So maybe kind of as a table setting question, it seems to have been that kind of divide between IT and OT for a long time. What do you think was driving that?
Well, I think that IT and OT are two separate functions within an organization. And at the end of the day, I think that everyone has some of the same organizational goals in common. Certainly the manufacturing team is trying to optimize manufacturing productivity. They're trying to maintain the health and safety of the shop floor employees. And IT plays a supporting role in that. We're also delivering applications and cybersecurity capabilities that help us to maximize our production. We do it in different ways, but there is definitely a common sense of purpose between our IT and OT colleagues.
So I would imagine that the driving force in bringing these groups together now is the convergence, the connectivity of OT to the internet, to the network. What's your experience in that respect?
When it comes to the convergence of IT and OT, I think that any competitive manufacturing company needs to have the data to give them business insights to help them to make smart manufacturing decisions. And so we've seen this convergence coming a mile away, and really we've embraced it by implementing additional connectivity. We're trying to do it in a smart way, having zero trust policies and strong firewall policies, identity policies to help us to make sure that the assets that communicate with one another are authorized and they have the right type of access in order to perform their function is really critical. We've had a partnership with our manufacturing engineers to help us to select technology that is not only capable of providing that data for the insights, but also in a way to do it securely. Our manufacturing engineers have been really receptive to taking training, everything from basic awareness training to seeking certification in the ISA 62443 framework. And we've really had a lot of success. There's a lot of engagement in our organization.
So what are some of the things that engineers, for example, or asset operators can bring to the table in terms of security, from understanding the safety implications of decisions, or just kind of what do the engineers bring to the table, I guess?
Yeah. So when I joined the OT security organization 3 years ago, and I got an opportunity to visit plants and meet with manufacturing engineers around the world. One of the things that I was really happy to see is that cybersecurity was already a priority for them. They had really thought about access controls and protections. The solutions would certainly vary from plant to plant, but they had taken into consideration what were their most critical systems and put into place the most effective solutions that they had at their disposal. So I really credit the manufacturing engineering community for their foresight into kind of avoiding cybersecurity issues in the first place. When the OT security program kicked off, we helped them and kind of not only brought value through some increased visibility, but also best practices and some standard solutions so that they didn't have to roll their own identity and access solutions for their manufacturing equipment. So we've had a lot of success, mainly because I think that the operations and engineering teams, they really understand the value of securing an asset for the sake of protecting the availability of the manufacturing process, but also for the safety and health of manufacturing employees that are on the shop floor.
What makes engineers nervous about security controls?
Right, yeah. I think that engineers, by and large, are really sharp individuals. They are people that that can really solve just about any problem you put in front of them. That's sort of the nature of an engineer, and because of their nature, they really want to have a lot of control, which is understandable because they're responsible for ultimately the profitability of a manufacturing business. So we want to give them as much latitude as possible when it comes to running the business, keeping the manufacturing lines up and productive. I think that the concerns that a manufacturing engineer has, based on many conversations with them, is preventing them from doing their job, preventing them from optimizing manufacturing processes, preventing them from jumping in quickly to fix manufacturing problems when they arise. Certainly, time is of the essence when it comes to manufacturing. And if you have a manufacturing process that has a defect and is producing scrap, you want to get on top of that as soon as possible to make sure that you're not wasting your raw materials, that you're not wasting the labor that's used to create those products.
How much of this kind of trying to unify these two pretty diverse groups, how much of it is about building personal relationships? Are you like trying to find champions on both sides of the equation, for example, or something like that?
Right, yeah. You know, we've had a lot of success in establishing strong relationships with our manufacturing peers in operations as well as in engineering, and it really comes down to meeting them where they're at, having an opportunity to listen to what their concerns are, what are their priorities, helping them to see what are some of the risks associated with certain approaches, and generally have found them to be very receptive. We've reached out to the operations leaders in our organization and given them data about the risks associated with cybersecurity on the shop floor, and by and large, they're very receptive to it. They look at it as controls that are necessary in order to keep our manufacturing lines up and running and to keep our employees protected from industrial incidents. A plant manager or a regional operations leader, they have a lot of responsibility for broadly making sure that those plants are productive and safe, and they are generally very receptive of getting help to address risks that are in their blind spot. So when we reached out to the business and we asked them for some discretionary time from manufacturing engineering personnel, they were very willing to come to us with some nominations, and we put some parameters around it. We found that we could reassure these manufacturing leaders and help them to ensure that the time that their engineering personnel were spending on cybersecurity was a value add by providing reporting to the operational leaders, to the engineering leaders, so they can see the effect of their team's input into reducing cybersecurity risks.
Sure. Do you find that there are competing goals on both sides? And I mean, this may not be the right example, but like IT wants to patch everything, they can patch everything, but OT is more like putting the brakes on stuff like that, they're more concerned about safety and reliability, et cetera, of their systems. Talk about the competing goals that might be at play here.
Yeah. So, taking into consideration the objectives of the operations teams and the engineering teams, really found that they are, they're primarily motivated with keeping the plant running. And when we come to them and we highlight cybersecurity issues to them, they are able to articulate what their challenges and risks are. When it comes to patching a PLC, that really is a Pandora's box. If you start to patch a PLC, you might get some unexpected outcomes in terms of the quality and the productivity of a manufacturing line. And so you have to be very careful about doing things like that. IT and OT engineers really have one thing in common, is that generally we're very disciplined about testing changes before we make them. In the IT space, Before we roll out a firewall policy, we make sure that that firewall policy has been tested and it's able to produce the right results with the minimum of drawbacks. We found that the OT engineers, they really do the same thing. When they are rolling out changes to the manufacturing environment, there is strict quality control, there are strict change controls that need to be followed so that when you introduce a change, that you're not impacting the product quality, that you're not causing the manufacturing line to slow down or to produce additional scrap. So, I think that we found that there are some common interests between IT and OT and in the way that we approach things.
So as kind of a last question to wrap up, just how are you measuring success here? Or do you have like a before and after comparison of how things used to be and how they've gotten better or at least progressing?
Yeah. So in cybersecurity, we tend to rely on frameworks like NIST. We rely on ISA frameworks to help us to evaluate what controls we have in place. And that allows us to identify deficiencies that we have in our program. We've undergone multiple assessments and have shown continued progress over time in closing those gaps. And it's been very successful. That helps us to make sure that we have the right capabilities that we can bring to bear on cybersecurity issues. But when it comes to the day-to-day management of cybersecurity, really have to, first of all, work directly with plant personnel. Manufacturing engineers and local IT are the only ones that can really affect cybersecurity on their individual shop floors. And so we have to partner with them. Generally, they're willing, but they need direction. They want to know what they need to do. And so we've constructed a set of dashboards that outline the vulnerabilities, the risks, the emerging threats to the cybersecurity of the shop floor. We put that in their hands and allow them to prioritize based on the impact, and our dashboards help us to really bring that right to the front. But those teams are able to work through at their own pace based on their own prioritization the work to close those cybersecurity gaps. We've been very successful in motivating those teams to do the daily work of cybersecurity by measuring and publishing metrics to show them where their plant stands in relation to other plants, especially when it comes to reducing the risk on a day-to-day basis. So I think that metrics and data speaks volumes. It helps to raise awareness for sure, but also to prioritize efforts. And I'm really pleased that our regional operations leaders have embraced the data and have driven results from their teams based on some shared goals.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks Dave, appreciate it.